It's a little worry. And we're live.
Fabulous. Oh, I'm so excited about this live today.
And me. Can't wait. I can't wait to get started. So let's kick off. If it's your first time joining us, my name's Claire. I run Insight Hounds, which is training. We are based in the Midlands, but we work with dogs online. We only work with sight hounds, and we specialise in ex-racing greyhounds. Also have the lovely Sarah with us, who's my partner when it comes to these lives. Sarah from Berkshire Dog Training, based in Berkshire.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Sarah works with all dogs, puppies, whole selection. And you specialise, are you with us now? Specialises in, have you got all your admin bits copied across?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Lovely. And Sarah specialises in substitute prey drive training as well. And we're really excited for our guest today. We are joined by the lovely Adele from Pet Blood Bank to find out all about dogs giving blood. So, Adele, could you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
I can. My name's Adele and I work for Pet Blood Bank. We're a canine charity providing life-saving units of blood to dogs. I'm one of the canine phlebotomists, so I am one of the people responsible for the donation sessions and making sure those units of blood get back to the lab safely and that all our donor dogs are fit, happy and healthy.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. So, very interesting job. How do you find a box for that on forms? It's not.
It's a very niche job. It is very niche. I started out as a vet nurse in practice, and you quickly learn how important blood is during that time when dogs need it. But yes, it is very niche.
Oh, that's great. So that's a really interesting route in. So actually coming from the vet nurse side of things and actually seeing the end, there's the end users and the end situation of what you now see the start of. So that's fantastic. Oh, wonderful. So if anybody's tuning in and they go, I have no idea what the Pet Blood Bank is, can you tell us a little bit more about what Pet Blood start again, Claire. What Pet Blood Bank does?
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is me, Adele, wasn't it? I didn't know anything about it.
So we launched in 2007. It was founded by another veterinary nurse, Wendy, who was working with Vets Now, which is an emergency out of hours service. They run across the country. You've probably heard of them. And they sort of realised how needed blood was in the middle of the night, usually. And so Pet Blood Bank was born. Like I say, we've been here since 2007. We go around the country to attend sessions. We have sessions up as far as Scotland and as far down as Kent and Somerset. So we're all over. And the dogs come along, they give blood just like humans do in the NHS, and then they go home with their version of tea and biscuits. That's kind of the small the small version, but I can give you the longer version if you would like a longer version.
Oh, no, that's fantastic as an introduction. That was really good, really concise. I really like that. That was great. So I work a lot with, obviously, the sight hounds and the ex-racing greyhounds. And I know there's something with sight hounds and greyhounds that they make particularly good donors.
They do. So anybody who's ever owned a greyhound knows that they're quite laid-back creatures, but or they also have a very special blood type, or they can have a very special blood type, which is our negative blood. So it's a bit like your equivalent to your own negative in human terms, where negative blood is so important because it can be used in an emergency situation where dogs don't necessarily have to be typed before it can be given to them. It can just go straight in an emergency. And there's only a finite amount of dogs that have this negative blood type, about 30% of dogs. And it's only, any dog can be negative, aside from one, which is a Rottweiler, so far we've found. But there are dogs that are more likely to be negative, such as the greyhounds, the sight hounds, bull terriers, flat-coated retrievers, Dobermans and German shepherds. But there is a much longer list than that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And are all of those dogs definitely negative then, or can they be positive as well?
They can be either. They can be either positive or negative, but they're just more likely to have negative blood.
I see. So that's why it's so popular at the greyhound rehoming centres, because you get a whole host of greyhounds that we can
do. And they do love a fuss. They love the treats. That, you know, they're quite social, the greyhounds.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me to a question, Adele. So you said the greyhound's temperament suits donating blood. So what do you look for? What if I was, my two, I believe, are too small because they're not above 25 kilos. But if I was a guardian and I was thinking, could my dog donate blood? What should I be looking for my dog in order to donate?
We're looking for happy, confident dogs that are happy to meet new people, happy in certain social situations, and mostly happy to be at the vets.
Okay.
Some dogs don't like being at the vets. It doesn't mean that they're not necessarily going to be able to donate. It might just mean that they'll have to come and meet us a couple of times before we get to that point. Some dogs just come along to say hi, maybe only get partway through the process, and then we say, oh, that's okay, we'll try again next time. But mostly we're looking for dogs that are happy, wagging their tail, wanting to take treats from us. And also with greyhounds, which really helps for us, is they like lying down. So when a dog gives blood at one of our donation sessions, we lie them on our table. Okay. Because we need the gravity, and so they're nice, and also so they're nice and relaxed, and it does help that the greyhounds like to lie down.
They do. But one of the things I love about what you did, just for context, we had our current dog, Izzy, our current greyhound. She's 24 kilos, and as the minimum weight is 25. She's just a little bit under to give. She's a little dot of a greyhound. She is quite small. But two of our previous greyhounds, Belle and Oscar, gave. So Oscar, I think, did 5 donations. Belle, we actually took along with Oscar. And it was before I was a dog trainer, but one of the things I love that you guys said were she's just not the right fit, because she was nervous, and there was no, oh, we definitely need to get this donation. It's all about the donations. It was really about how the dog was feeling, if the dog could cope with that environment, and clearly Belle couldn't. And you were like, no, she's wonderful, but she's just too nervous and she's not the right fit. So it was, I loved how the dogs came first in the donations as well. Absolutely. It's not just like a production. We have to have them in and we have to do this. It's all about the dogs and how they're feeling, and if they're enjoying the experience, and how they're coping with the situation is as important to you guys as it is to us as their pet parents. So
absolutely. Obviously, we know that the blood is needed, but our priority is our donor in front of us. They are our priority, and their welfare always comes first. Doesn't matter at what stage they decide they want to stop. If they want to stop, we'll stop. That's absolutely fine. And we want the owners to be comfortable. We want the donors to be comfortable. Everybody, we want to leave it as a nice, positive experience. Even if the dog doesn't become a donor, at least then the owner has become aware of what we do, and they're able to spread the word further to other people's dogs who may be able to donate. So either way, as long as people come and meet us, we don't mind sharing.
Yeah, it sounds so similar. I mean, I donate blood. I mean, I've done it for years. I even when I lived in Hong Kong, I donated blood, and you got a meal afterwards. I mean, it was a completely no just tea and biscuits. You actually got a meal afterwards, and that was part of the reason why I did it. But yeah, I've always done it. But sometimes I've not been well enough to do it, and so but I still got the biscuits, and I guess it's very similar in that way, isn't it?
It is absolutely
from a human and dog's perspective. But I know for humans, I can only donate so many times a year because they've got that control and management. So is it the same for dogs in that way as well, Adele?
It is. So our dogs can donate every 8 weeks or every 2 months, up to 6 times a year. So they can only donate with 6 times within a 12-month period, and that's every 8 weeks. That's how often our dogs can donate. So we tend to see the same dogs come back kind of time after time, when we build a real relationship with that dog and with that owner as well, which is really nice because they get to know us as well. It's really nice to have that.
So I've got quite a few members that donate, and I think they were saying Frida one of ours, I'm sure she was on 16 or 17. I know it was in the teens numbers, and it was huge. And there's Coda and Star and Shadow and quite a few others that regularly donate. And we were having a little chat before we started, and you're like, yep, I know that dog. I know that dog.
Yeah. So I'm part of the Midlands team. So we go about as far up as Wetherby, as far south as March in Cambridge, and then from kind of Skegness to Shrewsbury. That's my area where I tend to work. But then we've got our other regions, sort of southwest, southeast, northeast, northwest, and Scotland as well. But I generally work for the Midlands team.
Yeah.
So,
that's great. I was going to say that. Sorry, I was going to say that you were talking about the experiences. I've been posting information about this live on the local socials in the southeast region, and had a lovely story from somebody who currently donates blood, and actually they put a photo of their dog Elvis in their bandana. With Bull Terrier, and you know, she very kindly shared her experience was due to a previous dog that had been unwell and unfortunately, you know, needed to have a transfusion, and you know, everything, you know, they did their best, but unfortunately then parted on the Rainbow Bridge. But it sort of made her think about, well, what else could I have done to, you know, if other dogs need blood, how can I help? And a little bit of research, and felt really reassured with the people that she spoke to in the blood bank team. And, you know, because it is so relaxed, she, you know, to quote her, she says, you know, he gets loads of cuddles and treats, you know, they weigh him, they get a health check, you know, and he just loves it. He just can't wait to go in every time he goes in for a donation, because there's so much love coming from the team that's in, you know, the donation team, that it's, you know, he's even fallen asleep during donating. So, I mean, I mean, I could never fall asleep when I donate. So I suppose I come with my own expectations as a human donor, but the dogs are seeing it very differently, you know, and being really reinforced positively. And it's a lovely association in that way, that, you know, that just to hear. And Claire, you must have experienced that yourselves. Did either of your dogs fall asleep?
Oscar started to doze off, actually. But I know, just talking about the positive experiences, one of our donors, Jess with Coda, she was in the other in members class the other week, and she was saying that Coda was in the waiting room at the vets, and he heard one of the regulars, that one of your volunteers that works there, and all of a sudden he heard them, and that was it. He was like pulling up the door, and he couldn't wait to get in. And he's got such a relationship and bond with yourselves and the team, that he was just like super excited. I think it's giving her a hard time, because every time she lives in the area, and every time she tries to walk past the vets, he wants to go in and get involved.
That happens a lot. We get some owners that say, as soon as we pull up in the car park, the dog's desperate to get out, and they're trying to pull them through the door to get in. But I think it's just that they just remember their positive experience, the treats. Sometimes we think it's the red, but it's got to be the treats. And there are some favourite people within the team that certain dogs like, so I don't blame them.
Oh, that's good. I know a couple of people I know are volunteers for the Pet Blood Bank. So are the ways for, we're talking a lot about the dogs getting involved, are there ways for people to volunteer and can help out with Pet Blood Bank as well?
Of course, people can come and donate at our sessions, where we hold the donation sessions, making sure that when our owners arrive, they sort of check them in, if you like, and then they can do the bit afterwards, which is where they take the photo and give them all their goodies to go home with. So it's a really rewarding role being a volunteer for Pet Blood Bank. And we also run events throughout the year, such as Dog Fest. We go to various Dog Fests throughout the year, and we often want volunteers to come and help us raise awareness on the day, hand out some leaflets, just talking to people about what we do most of the time.
Oh, that's lovely, because I know Linda and Paul, some friends of mine that have been really helpful in setting this up as well for us. So I know they're volunteering. They really love it. So that's great. One of the things I wanted to touch on, that I know again from sort of talking to members, is that we've had a couple of dogs where they've had a screening before they've donated, and from that you've picked up something that wasn't right, and they've gone to their vets and actually had investigations, things that have they found out that the dog had got a health condition which they wouldn't have known about had the dog not been a donator, which I found fascinating. So how's that screening? What's involved in that sort of screening?
So
process?
when we get a new donor, if it's a first-time donor, if they've never been before, we take a blood sample before they donate. Some of it we check there and then to make sure they're fit and healthy to donate. But then after they've donated, that sample gets sent away to an external lab, and it will get processed overnight. And we usually get the results back within 24 hours. And that blood sample checks for liver function, kidney function, and various other inside bits and bobs. And they get that done on their first go, and then they get that done every year annually as well, so once a year, with a full health check from the vet. And if anything comes back on that, then we immediately tell the owner. We let them know. We say, look, this has come up. Maybe some raised liver enzymes or kidney things have come back, and they say maybe you should just go and get another checkup at your vets just to see what they say. And we have had it before where we've had some really, really early diagnoses where that dog has been able to then go on to medication. Unfortunately, they've had to stop donating, but the owners are really grateful that we've managed to catch this early, because it might not have been something they would have seen on the outside of their animal, and something that they might not have seen, might not got checked quite that regularly. So the nice side of it is that dog's got an early diagnosis and the owners know about it. Unfortunately for us, it just means we lose them as a lovely donor. But we're just happy that they're getting the care that they need.
Yeah,
definitely. So are you saying that there's a vet check as well before they donate? So every time they donate?
Every time a donor comes, whether it's a new donor or an existing donor, we have a vet on our sessions, and they are the ones that take the little blood sample, and then they get a full once over from nose to tail, a full health check before they go into the donation room, just to make sure they are fit and healthy on the day. If there's anything new, lumps, bumps, we might say, oh, we'll pause it for now, get this checked, and we'll see you again after it's been checked. Or the owners might want to ask us questions that they might be maybe embarrassed to ask other people or their own vet, when they might feel a bit more comfortable with us, and our vet can answer those. But sometimes we do refer those dogs back to their own vet if it's something a bit more kind of complicated, let's say, if you like. But yeah, every time they come to see us, every dog will get a full health check.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Because obviously got a wonderful relationship with my vets, and going to my vets is great, but to be able to get your dog a once over by a vet without, in a different scenario and as well, that's 6 times a year.
Yeah, it's part of the perk. It's part of the perk of coming to donate. You get, like you say, you get your blood sample every year, your full health check, and then your vet checks every 8 weeks or however often you come throughout the year.
Which is brilliant, isn't it? And your dog's getting their tea and biscuits. And
they get their tea and biscuits. Well, they get their version of tea and biscuits. They don't get tea, but they do get lots of lovely fresh water, and we always have bags and bags of treats to go around. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. I know that I've seen I know that Oscar got a couple of gifts as well for he got a bandana, and we've got a little key ring which I still keep in with my kit that he got for donating. So I know some of the dogs can get gifts at sort of milestone.
Yeah, we get milestone gifts. So their first one, if they when they donate at their first one, they'll get their bandana and their tag like your dog did. And then number 5, it goes in sort of 5 increments after that. So number 5 is a dog lead, 10 is a water bottle, I think 15 is a water bowl, 20 is a cookie jar. Now I'm pushing my knowledge. There might be a photo frame somewhere.
Yeah. And what's the age range, Adele?
Between 1 and they can start at 1 year old, and then they finish at their 9th birthday. For a giant breeds, they have to start after 2, just so that they're musculoskeletally mature, which just means that they're fully grown. And then they'll stop at around 8. But any sort of normal size breeds, sort of over 25 kilograms, between 1 and 8, they can start, and then they can donate up to their 9th birthday.
Oh, interesting. So just so much information, isn't there? It really is, and it like you say, it's just hopefully, somebody will see this live and take the initiative to contact you. And talking of which, how do people find out where to donate?
On our website. The website is probably the best place to go. If you go on to I want to say Google. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Google.
Google,
And
other internet providers are out there.
Yes, other ones are available.
Yeah.
But that's the best place to find out. If you give our officers a call, they're great to chat to. They can chat through any of the information that I've gone through. If anybody has any other questions that they might think of after this, we also have a lovely video on our website as well, which shows the whole process if anybody wants to sort of see it for themselves before they come along.
Oh, that's great. I'll pop a comment in the post. I'll post in the comments with the website after this, so people should have, anybody watching it back will get a direct link if you go to the comments. Speaking of comments, Steph's just commented and said Shadow wasn't well enough to donate, so that's one of her dogs the one time, but went in with their other dog that was Star, and he kept taking them back to have his blood checked.
He can't help himself.
Yeah, which is just, it's just so lovely. So we've talked a lot about the kind of donation side of it. I don't know very much about what scenarios do dogs need blood transfusions, or is it kind of one of those massive lists that's endless? But I know a bit more about the front half of the donations, but not what you use it for afterwards.
I would say there's not a massive list, but I can give you a few examples. So I'd say if a dog's in an unfortunate incident, say a road traffic accident, if they do get hit by a car and they are losing blood through no fault of their own, then at that point they would need blood to help replenish the stocks that they've got in there. There's also conditions called IMHA, where the own body attacks its own red blood cells. So then at that point they would need a transfusion as well. And there are various other cases where we use plasma for dogs that are maybe undergoing surgery that already have conditions, so that we know about them, but when they have surgery they have it preemptively to help through that surgery. So it might not always be an emergency situation, it may be a preemptive situation where we know this dog's got a disorder of some kind, clotting disorder, plasma disorder, where we can actually get that on board before they actually go under for surgery. But a lot of the time I would say that our blood products are used for emergencies, out of hours situations, accidents, things like that.
So they really are life-saving, aren't they?
They really are.
I looked at it, as I say, as the donation and how great it is and that you do it, but it really is saving lives, isn't it? It's saving dogs' lives.
Absolutely. One unit of blood can save up to 4 different lives, because it can be split down into its different components. So it's red blood cells, it's platelets, and it's different types of plasmas. So that's just one dog that can save up to 4 other dogs.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? That is really, really, that's such a strong message. That's just, wow, taking my breath away. I didn't realise. So how much would a dog donate in that in a session?
It works out around 450 mils, so around a pint, give or take a little bit. Yeah. So
and how long does it?
Sorry, go ahead.
How long does the donation take? Is it depending on the dog? So mine rushes out of me, you see. So.
Yes, it does sometimes depend on the dogs. Yeah. So the actual donation itself can take anywhere between sort of 4 and 8 minutes, again depending on dog, blood pressure, hydration levels. Yeah, that quick. Yeah, we have a cut-off of 15 minutes, so it can't go any longer than 15 minutes, which is the same as the NHS Blood Service as well. We take quite a lot of their technology and use it within our own, and they've helped us quite a lot along the way with our blood products. And
do you have those scales that go?
We don't have the rockers. No, we don't have the rockers. We found that they made too much noise.
I was going to say, I'm sure
very distracting the dog. Yeah. So. Myself and the other phlebotomists, whoever's doing the donation at the time, keeps a very watchful eye on our scales, because we weigh it. We weigh it on the scale, so we have to make sure that we watch it, make sure it gets to the right amount, and then it gets stopped.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. Millie's just come up with a great question. Millie said, "Is blood shared across breeds? So a greyhound has a transfusion from only other greyhounds, or can they have blood from other breeds of dog?"
It can go to anybody. Can go to absolutely anybody, as long as it's the right type. So apart from negative blood can go to any dog in an emergency situation, whereas positive needs to go to your positive typed dog. But no, it doesn't matter what breed they are.
Fascinating. So blood can go to anybody.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great question.
That's a great question.
So I know
it was a really good question. Great question, Millie. So as I say, I know you work quite closely with quite a few of my members, and people do, and you work quite closely with some of the greyhound charities that I do. So Daybreaks Trust and Home Run Hounds. I know you were at their Watford Gap on Saturday, I think it was.
Just on Saturday we were there, yeah.
So that's great. So if people have adopted a dog from a particular rescue centre, can they go back to those rescue centres and see if they have regular donations there to get in touch with you, or are those locations on your location maps?
I think with our kennel or sort of greyhound charity area donation sessions, I think that generally depends on whether the owners of those charities allow public dogs to come back. But often if they've been adopted from there, they get invited back to that same session. But if an owner moves away from there, if they've adopted that dog but actually moved away, then we run sessions across the country. And the best place to look is our locator, which is on our website. They can type in their postcode or wherever's nearest to them, and it'll bring up their nearest session. And then all they need to do is they can register on the website, or like I say, they can give our office team a call and they can say, well, our next donation session at this venue is on such and such a date.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It was really easy. I just did that recently, and really helpful information is available, and it's got information about your dog donating, but also about how you can volunteer as well as a human contributor, whether that's financially or time.
Yeah, we have a lot of people doing all sorts of crazy things, marathons, jumping out of the planes, raising money for us, and they're equally as fabulous as the people who come and spend their time with us as well. You know, we want volunteers, we want dogs, anybody can come and say hi to us.
Yeah, no, I know Oakley Vets, the one that I partner with in Caversham. We raised nearly £1,000 at the dog show that year, and it was really, really lovely because we did have some people from the Pet Blood there to promote the opportunity as well. So
that's been great, Adele. That's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us all about pet blood donations, pet blood bank donations, and yourselves as a charity and what you do and how you do it. That's been fantastic. So if anybody has got any further questions, then obviously they can get in touch with myself or Sarah, or contact the team, as Adele said, and we will link to that website. But thank you so much. I so appreciate your time coming and talking to us and sharing your experiences and some fascinating topics in there. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real privilege to speak to everybody and let everybody know about Pet Blood Bank. So I'm hoping that I've at least given some knowledge and people can go away and have a little look around on our website. And even if people don't have a dog of their own, everybody knows somebody with a dog.
Yeah.
If you don't have one yourself, tell somebody else. That's all we can ask for. But thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.